Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Let's Play Star Trek Online. As always, I am your host, J2 John Jeremy. And folks, I cannot describe to you how excited I am to finally be sinking my teeth into this game. You see, I have a confession to make. That's right. Yours truly, J2 John Jeremy, is in fact a Trekkie. I have watched nearly every episode of every television series. I own all the movies. I have read numerous books on Star Trek lore. And yes, I've even played prior Star Trek video games. But I have never played Star Trek Online. And there's a funny story that comes along with that, actually. You see, Star Trek Online was developed by a company called Cryptic Studios. And way back when I used to be a manager of a certain video game selling boutique store that shall remain nameless, I was invited to Cryptic Studios meeting with several of the employees, and we were shown this particular game. Now, this was about 6 months before the game was actually released, and I've got to tell you, I truly thought at the time that that was what Star Trek needed in the video game industry. It needed a game like this. Now, obviously, as we fast forward 2 years later, things haven't gone entirely to plan. Star Trek Online is still available to play, obviously, but it is now going free to play. And the company, Cryptic Studios, which was once owned by Atari, who published the game, had been sold to a Chinese publisher known as Perfect World. Perfect World mostly deals with the Asian MMOs. Their US-based subsidiary published Torchlight. Now, going into this, I know that it's not going to be the same as if it was a day one launch, obviously. However, I'm not looking exactly for that. I think this is a good opportunity now to play this game as if it was a story. To engage in the excitement, as it were, of playing through seasons of Star Trek as if it was a television show. Which is what the publishers, not the publishers, but rather the developers have turned it into, as far as I understand. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start a character here, and the way it works for this game is that we are going to start from the lowliest character, which is an ensign, and we're going to work our way up the ranks to the highest rank, which I believe is a vice admiral of sorts. And I hope you guys enjoy the ride. Now, side note, you may be asking yourself, J2, why do you intend on paying $15 a month to play this game? The answer is, way back when I saw this game in the meeting, I decided then and there that I was going to play the game, and purchased a lifetime subscription to the game. And I never played the game. The lifetime subscription cost me $250. And I never played the game. I just want to let that sink in there for a second. Of course, now, times have changed. The economy is not as it once was. And I would not make that same mistake again, I promise you that. However, since it is a lifetime subscription, I no longer need to pay, and because I actually subscribed for a lifetime, I get access to certain benefits, certain traits and character things that normal subscribers and future free-to-play members won't have. I will explain these in detail as we move along with the game. But for now, let's go ahead and showcase the game itself. Now we have here two signs here, regular play and create content. I assume create content is for those of you that wanted to actually develop in-house stuff for the game. They do allow that with their Foundry. But then down here we have new character. We have rename, which costs cryptic points, 280 cryptic points. And we have obviously delete the character. We're going to go ahead and create a new character. And here we have, well, basically one option, which is to create a new Federation character. Back when the game first launched, you were able to play as a Klingon character as well. However, in the time span after the launch, Klingons were locked off until at least you passed level 5, because of the fact that the Klingon starting lineup wasn't as in-depth as the Federation's. Klingons do not do any player versus enemy combat at all. It is all player versus player for the Klingons. Federation characters have both PvE and PvP. So we're going to go ahead and pick a new Federation character. And here we have 3 options for our career. We have here our engineering officer, which is basically our tank of sorts. He can withstand the most damage, and he can improve combat effectiveness and give support fire from turrets and drones. We have here the science officer, who is basically the caster of the group. The science officer can weaken an enemy's combat strength or heal fellow players more quickly than other characters can. And then we have here the tactical officer, who is primarily focused, obviously, in combat. And when looking at these 3 options here, and we are going to be playing as J² John Jeremy, you have to think to yourself, what is J² John Jeremy more focused on? And I'm going to tell you straight up, J² John Jeremy is the kind of guy who will walk up to you, tell you he's going to punch you in the face, and then proceed to punch you in the face. So, having said that, obviously, tactical officer is where we want to go. So we're going to go ahead and click next. And now we have our choice of species and or gender. Now, obviously, J² is not of the female variety. So, this is the basic human model. And then there are several other species as well, which we will go through. I want to showcase the traits, however. The human traits, they have 2 traits, and then they have 2 additional traits you can pick. Their traits are leadership and teamwork. We have an Andorian, who obviously is an alien, and you can obviously, right? And they have the antenna here, the white eyebrows, the blue pale skin. They have 1 required trait, which is the acute senses trait, and then you can pick 3 traits for them. Here we have the Bajoran, which is basically a human, but with rigid nose and religious earring on the side. Also, they are creative and spiritual. Very spiritual if you follow the actual lore of Star Trek. And they have 2 additional traits that you can pick. We have here a Benzite, who is basically the squid race of Star Trek. They have natural armor and natural immunities, and then you can pick 2 additional traits. We have here a Betazoid, who is your average human with telepathic and empathic abilities, like extrasensory perception, as it were. And as you see here, the traits are, in fact, empathic and telepathic. Next up, we have a Bolian, who weren't really showcased too much in the shows. I believe the most infamous of which is the Captain Picard's barber in The Next Generation. I just can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. But he has corrosive blood, and then you can pick 3 additional traits. I know, I just sounded so geekish right there, and yet I can't help it. It's what I know, folks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This right here is a Catian. Catians are not of the Star Trek lore, as far as I know. They were created specifically for this game because somebody wanted to have a cat face. That's all I can think of right now. Somebody wanted to have a cat face, and then the Catians were created. They have feline instincts, and you can pick 3 additional traits. We have here the Ferengi, who, if you know anything about Star Trek, know that they are money-grubbing, devious little sons of guns. They have 2 required traits, acute senses and natural immunities, and then you can pick 2 additional traits. Right here we have the joined Trill, who is basically a human, but has in its stomach a parasite, or a symbiote, as it were, that allows both creatures to survive, and the symbiote will actually live longer lifetimes. It will actually live several lifetimes, and the host has access to these memories. They have hypermetabolism and joined symbiote, which increases starship stats. I don't know which stats they are. I've never played as a joined Trill that wasn't part of the beta. I did play the beta for a little bit. Klingons. In this video game, Klingons and the Federation are at war with each other. So this Klingon would actually be an expatriate Klingon who, think Worf from the series. And they have 2 traits here, Honorable and Warrior. And then 2 additional traits. I'm going to go ahead and skip Liberated Borg Human for now. And I'm going to move on to Packlid. The Packlids are the guys that I can't understand at all. They were featured in, I think, 1 episode of the television show, maybe 2, and their trait is Dumb Luck. That tells you a lot about the Packlid. Their trait is Dumb Luck, and then you can choose 3 additional traits. Next up, we have the Rigelian, who wasn't showcased in any of the television shows or movies, but we know a lot about their planets. We hear a lot about Rigel 7, Rigel 9, etc., etc. Their required trait is Spirit Walk, and then they have 3 additional traits. That's an interesting look right there, like scars and everything. Anyway, next up we have the Saurian, who is the fish person of the game. Now, again, these weren't featured in the show as far as I can recall, but everyone knows Saurian brandy. That is the alcohol of the 24th century, more or less. They have 2 traits, circulatory redundancies, which sounds pretty lame, actually, when I say that, and acute senses. So they're a pretty lame race. We have here Tellarite. Think dwarf from fantasy lore. Big epic beards, scrunched up faces. That you've got yourself a Tellarite right there. They are sturdy, and their trait they have another trait called actual. They are pig-headed, and then they have 2 additional traits that you can pick. Here we have a unjoined Trill, which is the Trill race without the symbiote, and they just have hypermetabolism. Next up we have the Vulcan. Anyone who knows Star Trek knows that the second most famous race besides humans is in fact the Vulcans, with the portrayal of several well-known characters, including Leonard Nimoy's Mr. Spock. And the Vulcan has 2 traits, logical and physical strength. They are slight espers, so they have this sonic resistance here, and they are deceptively strong, which is why they have the physical strength trait. And here we have generic alien number 72, or whatever. This is basically the create your own species line, where you can just pick 4 different traits you can use. Not a bad idea, if you don't like any of these specific traits, you can just fill your own in and then create your alien however the way you like it. You can make it look like a human and even call it a human, and it just won't have the same human traits as human. But we're going to go with the liberated Borg human. And this guy here is what I got for getting a lifetime subscription to the game. Well, one of the things I got for getting a lifetime subscription is we have access to the liberated Borg human race. Pretty badass. They have 2 traits: Efficient Captain, which is +10 to a whole bunch of different stats, and Borg Nanites, which is regeneration and regeneration for the body when during ground combat, and regeneration for shields when you're in space combat. Then you can pick 2 additional traits. So we're going to go ahead and go with the liberated Borg human. And here we have the options for 2 more traits we can pick out. We have accurate, we have acute senses, aggressive, astrophysicist, Borg neuroblast, natural immunities, peak health, physical strength, resilient, stubborn, sturdy, sure-footed, and warp theorist. Now, because we're going on a tactical route, we want to try and max out those particular traits. So let's go ahead and increase our accuracy here, and let's go ahead and increase our damage while also maintaining an increase in threat generation, which means the enemies will more than likely attack us rather than anybody else, which is fine by me. You know, more lambs to the slaughter, as it were. So now we get to the customization portion of your character. There are several different generic variants you can choose from, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick one and start to work on it here. I don't like the infected skin. If you've ever seen Star Trek, you know that, you know, once a Borg is detached from the collective, they try to you know, remove as much of the implants as possible. Most noticeably with 7 of 9 in Star Trek Voyager. So that's basically the kind of look I'm going for here. Basically normal looking skin. There you go. It looked a little pale right there. Eyes like so, and then ears, humanoid. His hairstyle, we have a lot of different hairstyles to choose from. You know, some look better than others. Some look absolutely horrible. But I'm going to go with the spiky bangs look. It just, you know, nice, clean, simple. And we're going to go ahead and make our hair brown, because I like brown hair better than black hair. Our eyebrows were angry. We like our eyebrows raised. And let's see here. We have here an option for a mouth accessory, which is, you know, beards, like epic beard. And we obviously, for J Squared John Jeremy, we need a mustache. That'll be good right there. Look at that mustache. That's a powerful mustache. And we're just going to go ahead and darken that up a little bit. There you go. Eye attachments. I'm not a fan of eye attachments like these because they tend to detract from the character. So we're gonna go with none here. And the head attachments are, again, just, you know, customizations for your character. However, these I can deal with much better because they're like, some of them are like out of the way. Like this one's fine. And, you know, we want to go ahead and be up on the lore, so this is basically the showcasing the fact that we are a former Borg. And then right here we have scaling options, which I'm not gonna mess around with too much. I'm just gonna go ahead and whatever it randomize, which I'm fine with. Whatever looks good to me is what we'll move on with. That looks fine. Whatever. So Especially bringing that draw a little bit. There you go. That's a powerful draw right there. Alright, we're going to go next here. Now this is just customize your body. Same sort of scenario for the head. It's just basically changing up some different sizes and whatnot. You can change your base height. However, it doesn't really make a difference. You can change your stance. You can go brawler, about to fight somebody. Creature, which is really weird. Gruff, relaxed, stern, swagger, thoughtful, and twitchy. We are going to go with swagger, because obviously J-Squared has swagger. Come on. How does J-Squared not have swagger? And we're just going to go ahead and randomize this here. That's fine. Randomize this. Short of his arms. That's fine. Smaller hands. Okay, and then we have lower legs. Makes no difference to me. That's fine. There you go. That's our guy. There's J-Squared. Next. Now here we have customize your uniform. There are several different options available for us. You know, these are just the generic ones that they've set up for us. We're just going to go ahead and pick one and then go into the advanced section here. And we're going to change things up. I want to showcase the things that I have. So let's go ahead and pick the Terran Mirror Universe uniform here. And we're going to go ahead and change this color here. Let's showcase the command red. Black ascot. And gold trim. Yeah, that's good. Then next we have a badge. We want to go ahead and pick our lifetime comm badge because we want to showcase what we have. So we have a silver disc in the middle, and everything else is going to be black so that it looks good with the red. There you go, see? You have an option for gloves. I don't like the look of the gloves. Like, you can see them right here. Look weird to me. Then we have the option for pants, which is mid-ankle, knee-high, long, and tight. For once, I'm not going to pick tight pants because they just look really bad. I'm going to go with the mid-ankle ones. And we have the option for a Mirror Universe sash. So we're going to go ahead and pick that. And I'm going to go ahead and fix that color right there. A gold sash. Like so. And we have here an option for panels and pockets or cutoffs. We're going to pick cutoffs. And here it tells us that this cutoff option is part of several different costume packs. We just pick ours and click OK. And then the option for boots. I like soft boots, and that's just going to be all black right there. All black. Good to go. And that's our guy. That's what he looks like, folks. Not bad if I do say so myself. Let's click next here. Enter our name. We are, of course, John Jeremy. And our ship's name is the USS Lovemaker. And once I press this button for submit application, it's going to go to a cutscene, and then I shall be back.
After I left Starfleet, I made it my life's work to reunite the Romulans with their Vulcan brothers. For many years, I lived among them and waged a campaign of peace. 21 years ago, the star of the Hobus system went supernova and sent a wave of devastation across the quadrant. I promised to save the Romulan homeworld. I failed. The planets Romulus and Remus were destroyed. Countless billions were killed. To prevent this fate from befalling the entire galaxy, I used red matter to create an artificial black hole. While the threat was averted, my ship passed through the black hole into another reality. My home, my friends, my life, all are memories. Time does not stop for one man, and neither does history. The chaos in Romulan space gave the Klingon Empire an opportunity to expand its territory. Jimpak, the Chancellor of the High Council, traded diplomacy for the tip of a blade. Only in battle, Jimpak says, is a Klingon truly Klingon. The Federation did its utmost to preserve its alliance with the Klingons, but war was inevitable. The Romulans want revenge for their lost world. The Dominion is rebuilding its forces. Now, the Borg have reappeared and attacked the Vega colony. The Alpha Quadrant balances on the edge of ruin.
This is the USS Kittimer requesting immediate assistance. The Borg! We're being thwarted!
Every generation, Starfleet officers hear the call of duty. If the Federation is to be saved from chaos, new officers will need to take up the task of restoring peace. The fate of the galaxy rests in their hands.
We've lost most of our crew, and we need help now! Please, if anyone out there can hear me...
The fate of the galaxy rests in your hands.
Welcome to Star Trek Online. You can move your camera by holding down the right mouse button.
Well, how do you like that? The fate of the galaxy is in my hands. How do you like them apples? Well, obviously, this is the tutorial for Star Trek Online. And what you heard was the backstory to the game, done obviously by Leonard Nimoy, who played Mr. Spock in the Star Trek series, several movies, you know, him. I found it funny that he was talking about something that happened in the future, but now he's stuck in the past, and, you know, that whole thing, but that's not something I'm going to get into here. I'm just going to go ahead and start this tutorial here, and then we'll continue. Oh, look, somebody just joined up right next to me. So we have to click the right mouse button and turn to do our camera. We use the mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Okay.
Move by using the W, A, S, and D keys. Use the spacebar to jump.
Okay. So this is the W, S, A, and D keys. And then spacebar. Look at me. I'm jumping. I'm quick. Like a cat. Oh, alright, I made it. Let's jump from one table to another, just to prove my reflexes are awesome. Yeah, I did it. And then it tells me that I'm done, and I can go to the turbolift door to continue along with the tutorial. There are no bulletins, and those are some pro tips. And that is the beginning of Star Trek Online. Obviously over here we are facing off against a massive Borg cube. And we're dead. More or less. Like, look, things have gotten so bad for us that they're actually using Constitution-class ships in the battle. Oh man, run, run. Haven't you guys ever seen Best of Both Worlds? You know, Battle Wolf 359, we are out of here. Dead. unless the Enterprise arrives, which obviously it won't. So it's up to me to save the day. But that will be next time on Let's Play Star Trek Online. Until then, this is J Squared John Jeremy signing out, saying so long and take care.